Hey, what's up guys? Long time no see. Welcome back to another video, and today I'll be doing my top 10 picks for the most overhated movies. Now, these are all movies that I see get hate on a lot, just get really negative reviews from fans, critics, both, that I do not feel deserve that, and I feel like they're much better than what they're given credit for. Some of these movies I know aren't great and they have flaws, but like I said, I just think how their flaws are over exaggerated, and I think they're a lot better movies than what a lot of people say. So, kicking things off at number 10, I went with the Fantastic Four from 2005, the Tim Story one. I mean, this movie isn't great. It's kind of just your popcorn superhero flick, but the fact that it's like one of the lowest rated Marvel movies kind of confuses me. Like I said, it's nothing special, it's nothing spectacular, but I think it's got some fun moments, some good action, and some pretty good characters actually, and a pretty good story. It has more depth than a lot of MCU movies do nowadays, so there's that, I think. And, I just feel like, compared to a lot of stuff that comes out today from Marvel, I think this is actually a little bit better, so. Yeah, nostalgia plays a factor in that one, but I watch it nowadays. I used to love that movie as a kid. It used to be like one of my favorite superhero movies, but I watch it today, I'm like, yeah, it's not as good, but I still think it's better than what a lot of people say. My pick for number 9 is probably the most hated comedy movie I can think of, but one I've just always loved, and that's Norbit. Yeah, it's nothing but fat jokes. People get offended by that, but I'm fat. I think these jokes are funny. So, it really is just low-hanging fruit. I get that, but I think it's hilarious, and comedy is completely subjective. I mean, there really is no such. I don't know if there's such thing as like a really bad comedy. It's all depending on what your sense of humor is, to tell if a comedy is actually good or not. So it's my sense of humor. I think it's great. Number 8, another Marvel movie. So nobody can ever call me a Marvel hater. Number 8 for me is Ang Lee's Hulk from 2003, 4, something like that. Again, this is one I used to watch a lot as a kid. Then I did go through a phase for a couple years, up until like recently, where I thought this movie was really boring. So I didn't always love this movie. Even when I was a kid, I used just to skip to the action sequences and stuff like that, because I didn't care about the story. I just wanted to see the Hulk destroy stuff. After the past couple watches, I've noticed that this movie's really misunderstood. I think it does a lot of cool things, like with the themes of anger and stuff like that. I kind of really like the whole comic book panel aspect they do with the movie. You know, how they kind of make it look like comic book panels. The acting is really they overact sometimes, and acting's pretty wooden. I just really like the themes in the movie. I think it really works. The music, Danny Elfman's score in this movie is fantastic. One of the best superhero movie scores, in my opinion. And, I think this one definitely deserves another watch, because I do actually think this is a really good movie. Unlike the previous two, where I just it just depends on what, I don't think they're great, but I actually do think Hulk is pretty good. Number 7 for me, I guess this particular cut of the movie isn't as hated, but this movie in general, a lot of people shit on, and, it's gonna be, Godfather 3. Of course, this is the, Godfather coda, the death of Michael Corleone, so the new kind of, what is it, director's cut, editor's cut, something, new cut of the movie, yeah. I've only seen this cut of Godfather 3, so I'm not sure about the theatrical version, but just what I see from this movie, just the story and the characters and stuff like that. It's really interesting. And obviously, it's not as good as the first two, but I still think this is a really, really well-made film with some great acting and phenomenal ending. Again, I know what the ending is in the original Godfather 3, and I definitely think the ending in this cut is better. But yeah, there's just a lot of artistic value in this movie that goes underappreciated, I think. So, number 6, a movie that doesn't have a lot of artistic value to it, but it's a movie that I kind of grew up on, I guess. But then I didn't like for the longest time, but recently I've grown an appreciation for it. So time to kick the hornet's nest a little bit. I'm talking about The Phantom Menace. I guess you could go Attack the Clones too, but I like that one. I definitely like that one less than The Phantom Menace. Yeah, the first half of The Phantom Menace is just so-so for me. Like, I don't find anything, like, super offensively bad. Yeah, Jar Jar Binks, whatever. I don't really need to talk about him. I kind of am tired of talking about him and listening to people talk about him. And yeah, the CGI, really bad in this movie. And the acting, other than, like, Ewan McGregor, is, really wooden. And sometimes, in the case of little Anakin Skywalker, really bad. But I just think the last half of this movie has some of the best sequences in the franchise, actually. The pod race scene's one of my favorites, and of course the duel with Darth Maul is great. But even the scene where Anakin is, leaving his mom, it's a really emotional scene, and again, probably one of my favorites in the franchise. Bad acting aside. But yeah, I just, I feel like the political stuff has become more interesting to me as time has gone on. It has some really good world building going on. But yeah, I mean, I think, there is definitely some fans of the prequels. I'm not saying it's a great movie, I'm just saying it's better than what a lot of people say. Oh boy, what are we at? Number 5 here, I believe? Yeah, we are at number 5. I could have picked a lot of movies from this dude's filmography, but I went with the one that I like the most. This is kind of how I picked it, is movies I'm going down the ones I like more. But yeah, I went with M. Night Shyamalan's The Happening. Could have went with The Village as well. That one's more polarizing. A lot of people do really like that movie, but some people say it's one of the worst movies they've ever seen. And if it is, you need to watch more movies, I guess. But this one's definitely more hated than The Village, and I do like this movie a little bit more. Yeah, it's a big budget B movie, but I think it has some really good themes in it. When it's trying to be goofy, I think it works. Is it shot the greatest? No. The acting sometimes, even when they're not trying to be goofy, isn't very good. But this is one I've always really enjoyed. I've never understood. It wasn't until later I found out that this was such a hated film. But I think when you go into it with the mind that it's a B movie, it's supposed to be silly, and some of the dialogue's supposed to be corny and stuff like that, I think you'll enjoy it more. Last Airbender though, that deserves all of the hate that it gets. Number 4, people are really starting to come around on this movie, I feel, but there still are a lot of people who really dislike this movie, and again, this is a really big childhood movie for me, but even watching it now, especially the new editor's cut that came out, I think it has a lot of artistic value that people overlook, and I'm talking about Spider-Man 3. yeah, the editor's cut's definitely an improvement, and I know there's some really bad things about it and stuff that I really don't like, Venom. But yeah, I mean, the stuff that this movie gets right though is just as good as the stuff in the first two Spider-Man movies. I think like the whole theme with like Venom's suit representing like revenge and anger, and how like with throughout the movie, like it's like basically calling out to Peter and stuff like that, and then once Eddie Brock gets that revenge in his heart, that's when the suit takes over him. Just a lot of stuff like that people really don't pick up on or just overlook. And I think Sandman's actually a really good villain, especially in the editor's cut. There's a really awesome scene, probably the best scene in the entire movie, I think so, with the Sandman and his daughter. Very, very good stuff. But yeah, flawed movie, but it just gets a lot of stuff right, I think so, more so than it gets wrong. Again, definitely not as good as the first two, but again, way better than a lot of MCU stuff. There's 3 Marvel movies there. Alright, so getting into number 3, time to really kick the hornet's nest with this one. It's going to be Star Wars The Last Jedi. This is a really good movie. I have some issues with it, mainly some of the dialogue. Kind of has that MCU-ish humor to it. Sometimes where there's humor where there shouldn't be. But man, this is such a beautifully directed movie. Maybe the best visually looking Star Wars movies in the entire franchise. Rian Johnson just did a fantastic job with this movie. I really like the story. I like some of the arcs that happened in this movie with Poe. I really like how they do his kind of story in this movie, and I'm sorry, but this is my favorite version of Luke Skywalker. I just think his arc in this movie is fantastic, and his death is maybe the best in the franchise. It is just such a beautiful shot, and that scene with him and Yoda too, just fantastic. Some really good action too, when Kylo and Rey team up towards the end. Just some great stuff about this movie. Most of the issues you hear about this movie are just all based in nostalgia, I guess. Listen, I grew up with Star Wars too, so I didn't feel offended that they made Luke the way he was. I was really welcome to that idea, and I really enjoyed it. I don't care if they're killing these old characters off. They have to die at some point. And I think this is definitely a really good movie, and definitely one of the better made Star Wars movies, I think. Rise of Skywalker, not so much. So yeah, this is my number 2. This could be my number 1. I like this and my number 1 pick about the same. I just kind of went with which one I think is more hated, slightly, I guess. But for number 2, I went with Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Again, Zack Snyder's a guy you could pretty much do a lot of movies with. Sucker Punch, even though Sucker Punch is a movie I particularly enjoy after my first watch, it's definitely better than a lot of people give it credit for. Some really nice artistic ideas in that movie, very complex. So I think on rewatches, I think I'll enjoy that one more. But this movie, some would say it's polarizing. This really does have its fans. A lot of people do say that this is one of the best comic book movies ever made. It's a masterpiece, but man, do a whole lot of people say the complete opposite, basically. I am definitely in the camp with the people that think this movie is one of the best comic book movies ever made. I have some minor issues with the movie, but I think so much about this movie is just goes over people's heads and is just really misunderstood about the movie. I mean, I don't really want to get into it because I would be here forever talking about the things that people get wrong about this movie, but I'll just say extremely well shot. The movie's fantastic. The music is fantastic. Lex Luthor, performance might not be 100% on board with that, but his characterization is phenomenal. Like his motives and stuff like that, I really, really buy it and think it's the best characterization we've gotten for Lex Luthor before by far. The action in this movie is incredible. The warehouse scene, the Batman Superman fight, the fight with Doomsday, great stuff. And yeah, kind of, Batman's arc in this movie, I think it really packs an emotional punch. A lot of people make fun of it. I don't know, I just don't get it. But yeah, just love pretty much everything about this movie. I do think this movie is a masterpiece, and, I think it's a movie that over time will be held in higher regards, but man, it is, by polarizing is an understatement for that movie, because, it really gets shit on. Same with my number one pick. Like I said, I could really flip-flop between these two. I'm not sure which one of these movies I prefer. Two totally different types of movies. But yet another director that, you hear his name and you feel a certain type of way. But my number one pick is Rob Zombie's Halloween remake. I think Halloween 2 is a really overly hated movie. In fact, I was one of those people that really hated that movie up until the last time I watched it, actually. I really grew an appreciation for it. I don't like it nearly as much as I like this movie. But I do think that is a really well done movie. I don't think it's great. Maybe I'll get there for rewatches. But about this movie, I used to hate this movie too. But just over the years, I've just really understood the brilliance of this movie. The cinematography is just beautiful. This is just what a horror remake should be. He takes the original and adds to it, and also adds his own flavor. So he does the Rob Zombie grindhouse type movie, and adds in the whole backstory with Michael, which the scenes with him in the sanitarium is just fantastic. Some of my favorite scenes in the movie. This really does have a great Halloween feel to it as well. But yeah, the kills are brutal. Again, I love pretty much everything about this movie. This is my favorite horror remake. I do have some minor issues. I do not think it's as good as the original one. I'm not saying that, but I definitely think that, this is one of, if not the best horror remakes, and people just really despise it for how different it is. The original one, say it humanizes Michael Myers too much. Well, it's kind of a point of a remake, is to do something a little bit different. I really like the whole, nature-nurture thing they do. The first one being more, nature, I guess. In this one, he's basically created, with his, childhood and stuff like that. It's a movie I came on quite a journey with, I will say that. So, yeah, those are my 10 picks. Could have picked some other movies too. Could have thrown The Dark Knight Rises in there, although that's much more well liked than any of these movies. It has like an 8.4 on IMDb. It does definitely have some haters out there. Same with like Tenet. That's pretty polarizing Christopher Nolan movie that I absolutely adore. But again, that's like a 7.5 ish. So, people overall do tend to enjoy it. Also, Peter Jackson's King Kong. I feel that one's more just underappreciated. I think it's overall a well-liked movie. I just don't think it gets enough praise, even from those people. Waterworld could be another one. There could be a bunch of other ones. Maybe I'll make another list of these down the road. Yeah, but those are my 10 picks. Let me know what some of your picks would be and what you think of my list. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one, whenever the hell that is.